Today, we're imagining what a future wave of LEGO Lord of the Rings sets could look like. I created what I think would be a perfect but realistic complete wave of sets for Lord of the Rings. For the general pricing structure and number of sets, I took inspiration from the 2012 wave, which is the last time that we got a full wave of Middle-earth LEGO sets. Before we dive in, my analytics tell me that only 14% of you watching seem to be subscribed, which only means you're missing out on more videos like this. If you love LEGO and Lord of the Rings content, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss a video. Just a quick note though, that these are just my ideas for what I think would be a still pretty realistic wave of sets that LEGO could actually do. So I tried to format things in a way that LEGO might actually do things. As an example, there's no way they'd ever add 30 minifigures to a battle scene or add a set that needs like 10 or 20 new molded helmets or something like that. That's just not something that realistically they would be able to do. In my estimation, this whole wave of sets would only need about 4 new molded parts, which to me feels pretty realistic. With that in mind, let's look at the structure that I used to put this wave together. In 2012, we got 7 sets, 2 polybags, and one of those 7 sets was a Target exclusive. So I'm keeping that general same format with the number of sets and the similar price point that they were at back in 2012. And in addition, the 2 polybags. So I'm gonna run with that general format to just input what I think would be a nice set that would work for those price ranges that I just think would be cool to have. Our 2 polybags both included characters that appeared elsewhere in the wave, so they were not exclusive minifigures to the polybag. So I'm gonna keep that theme running for the wave that I suggest as well. One was a main character and the other was an army building figure. Our cheapest one was Gandalf Arrives for $13. Then we had Shelob Attacks at $20. Then the Uruk-hai Army set, which was an add-on to the Helm's Deep set. And the Uruk-hai Army set was $30. Then we had Weathertop for $60, Mines of Moria for $80, and the largest set of the wave was Helm's Deep at the $130 price range. And then of course we had the Target exclusive set, which was the Orc Forge for $40. So when I sat down to figure out what I actually wanted to fill these slots with, I wanted to make sure that none of these were sets that they had actually made different versions of before, and also that they were scenes that hadn't even been built out of LEGO. So let's take a look at what my ideas are. So for the polybags, we have 2 of them, one of them an army builder and one of them a main character. For the main character, I chose Gandalf the White. That is a character that we have seen before in a different set, back in 2013, I believe, but it was only in one set and is now very sought after exclusive character, and that's just a well-beloved main character that I think a lot of people would like to have, so including that in a polybag, I think makes a lot of sense. Now for the other polybag, it's a army builder, so there's a lot of things I could have chosen. There's a lot of armies that people would love to build. I chose to go with a Rohan soldier. That is one that I do have appearing also later on in some of the other sets. So he wouldn't be an exclusive figure, just like the Gandalf the White won't be an exclusive figure in this whole wave that I've come up with. So neither of them are exclusive, but I think having the army builder with a Rohan soldier being something new, he would probably include a new mold just because the old one is probably retired. So they would probably have to come up with a new molded helmet piece for that. But that is an army builder that coming in a polybag, that would be really nice for a lot of people to get a hold of. So then for our first set, this is gonna be our $15 price point. It's gonna include Frodo and Sam, and this is Departing Amon Hen. This is when Frodo and Sam are leaving in the boat to separate the Fellowship, and the end of the first movie, kind of starting the second movie. So this is comparable to the Gandalf Arrives set, which was that little cart that came with Frodo and Gandalf. So it's a similar kind of size to that. So picture about that size, but it would be an elvish boat instead of the cart, and then maybe a little beach scene or something like that, and then just the 2 minifigures. Now for the $20 price point, I have Buckleberry Ferry, which would just be the little raft and a little dock there, and then it would include a ringwraith with its horse, and then Merry and Pippin. I've kind of separated which hobbits are in different sets, just because I wanted to make sure that there's a way to get all of these characters, at least as many of the characters as possible in all of these sets. So I really thought long and hard about how I would divide up the minifigures, and since Frodo and Sam are in the last set, I thought including Merry and Pippin in this set would be nice because they would never include all 4 hobbits and a ringwraith in a $20 set. That's just probably not something they would ever do. So 3 minifigures and a horse plus the little barge, the little raft that goes across the water. Then here's where I'm gonna break off a little bit from the structure of the 2012 wave, because I'm actually gonna have two sets at the $30 price point. The first one is gonna be Treebeard, which is a brick-built figure with Merry and Pippin. I kind of debated about whether or not I would include this one. This was kind of a bonus set, but the more I thought about it, the more I just thought it would be really cool to include, to get a Treebeard. So Merry Pippin just makes sense to be the two characters to go with that. And at the $30 price point, I think we could get a somewhat decent Treebeard build. And if you haven't seen, this is my custom mock of Treebeard that I recently built and just made a video of. So go check that out after this video if you're interested. Then for the other $30 build, I thought it would be nice to get a Gandalf versus the Balrog set. This would include 4 minifigures. It would include Gandalf, 2 Moria orcs or goblins, and then Frodo. And it would include of course, the brick-built Balrog and maybe a little section of a bridge. It couldn't include the whole thing for $30, but at least a little section of it. And the whole Balrog, I think, would be a really cool set to see, and I think actually probably makes sense for a $30-ish price range. If we look at this recent set from the Marvel line, it already looks pretty similar to something that LEGO would do, but for Lord of the Rings, of course, I hope the build would be a little bit more impressive than this one, but this is a good example of what something could look like. Now, I'm trying to include more sets from the Two Towers and the Return of the King because it seemed like the majority of the sets back in the first wave and when they were first making sets were all, or mostly, they were not all from, but they were mostly from the Fellowship of the Ring. So I wanted to get a little bit more variety in because there's some characters that don't even show up in the Fellowship of the Ring that we have never gotten to see in LEGO form. So some of these sets I was really trying to just vary it up a little bit and get some of these characters that we just haven't seen yet in LEGO. So for the $60 price point, we have the Warg Attack. So this is the scene from the Two Towers when the Rohan soldiers fight with the wargs and the orcs. So this would include 5 minifigures. It would include 2 wargs, 2 horses in addition to that, which is pretty cool to get all of that. The warg would be a new mold as well because, again, I'm assuming the old one is no longer in production, so they would have to make a new mold for it. And then that Rohan soldier, this is where it would show up again from the polybag. So that mold has already been introduced, and now it's in 2 sets, the polybag and this. The minifigures would be 2 orcs to go along with the wargs, and then we'd have a Rohan soldier, we'd have Éomer, which would be a nice named character to get, and then Aragorn. And for the set itself, it mostly would probably be some rocky landscapes, just a few boulders here and there, and with maybe some play features that you can launch a minifigure off of or something like that, just because they would need to add some play features in a play set. That just makes sense, that's what they always do. So I'm sure it would just be some little boulders, some little like landscape area with all the horses and wargs to kind of play with those, and then a few play features included in that. Then at the $90 price point, we have a set that would probably be pretty desirable to a lot of people just because of the scene and all of the characters that it includes. It would include a good handful of new characters that we have not been able to get before. At the $90 price point, we're going with the Battle of Pelennor Fields. This would include Éowyn, which is a character we have not seen before, the Witch King, which would be really nice to get that crazy molded helmet piece. Then we would have Merry in his Rohan armor, and Gandalf the White, which is again where that polybag minifigure is included, just so it's not an exclusive minifigure, because I think they don't usually like to do that, have an exclusive minifigure in those polybags. Gandalf the White, and then we would have 2 orcs just to have some bad guys, some more bad guys, so it's balanced 3 and 3. 3 good, 3 bad. Then for the build, we can have maybe a miniature Oliphant, or for sure, I'm thinking they would include a fell beast. It could be similar to the gift with purchase, probably wouldn't be exactly the same. Something similar like that I think would be really cool, but at the $90 price point, I think that would be a good amount of pieces. You get 6 minifigures. A lot of them would be exclusive and new minifigures, so I think that would be really desirable. This is just a scene that I think a lot of people would really like to see in LEGO. Then for the largest set at the $150 price range, we have the Paths of the Dead. For this set, it would include 7 minifigures. We would have all 3 of Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli. So I think at this point we have had all of the Fellowship except Boromir, just because, well, Boromir doesn't last through the first movie. So we get the rest of the Fellowship throughout all the sets now with the addition of Gimli and Legolas here. And then we would also have the King of the Dead and then 3 of the Ghost Soldiers. That would be really nice for army building, although most people probably wouldn't be buying a $150 set to army build. But hey, it comes with 3 of them, so that's pretty good. I think 3 of them is a pretty good number, especially since it's a larger set and that's kind of the whole army that's there. There's a lot of them, so including as many as possible I think is really nice. 3 I think is a good number. For this set, I'm kind of basing this in my mind off of the Lonely Mountain set, which was I think around the similar price point. Of course, that came with the large Smaug dragon. This wouldn't have any sort of dragon or anything that big molded, which of course would take up a lot of the cost for that set. For this set, it would have a little bit more pieces though than that one, just because again, yeah, no giant molded dragon in this set, but similar color theme, and I can kind of picture it having some different like structures in the same general layout that that set had. I just think this would be really cool to get this scene. This is one of the really cool scenes from that movie for me that I have always thought would be really cool to see in LEGO. Maybe a lot of sand green and maybe some transparent pieces to kind of give it that ghostly feel. I just think that would be really cool. Then as the Target exclusive or retail exclusive set, I am going with a Minas Tirith Defense or Osgiliath Defense. One of those, I haven't quite decided. It could be either, but I'm picturing just a little wall section similar to the Rohan Helm's Deep add-on set that came back in 2012. Similar to that, but this one would be served kind of as a battle pack at the $40 price range, and it would include 3 orcs and 2 Gondor soldiers. So those Gondor soldiers are really sought after. They would have a new helmet molded piece, which I think would be really cool to see. That's a character that people have wanted for forever in LEGO. People are always making custom versions of it, and I just think that that would be really nice to get those in even a sort of like battle pack set. I think most waves tend to include 1 retail exclusive, so this would be that set, and at the $40 price range, I think it would be pretty accessible to most people, and again, perfect for army building. So that's the entire wave. I really tried pretty hard to make sure a wide range of movies and characters were covered, just because it's nice to get some of those characters that we maybe haven't seen before in LEGO form. And from what I can tell, there's only 4 new molded pieces that would be required. That is the Warg mold, and then the Gondor helmet, the Rohan helmet, and then the Witch King's helmet, just because that's a pretty unique mold right there. So only 4 new molds seems pretty realistic, especially if they're gonna be introducing this whole new wave for such a widely desired and highly regarded theme. I think 4 new molds is pretty reasonable. They might even be able to do more, but that's kind of keeping it on the low end. I think they would be able to do that. So I'm really curious to hear what you think of this list. Are these sets that you would be interested in? Do you have your own list of sets that you want them to do? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to make sure you keep getting all the LEGO Lord of the Rings content that I put up on this channel. But that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you for watching. Here's another video until the next one, and I'll see you then.